What's good, everybody? Thought I would just give you a quick intro, live from the home gym, because a lot has happened since we recorded the last episode. However, our advice is still the same, so we thought that we would still put the episode up anyway, even though obviously the gyms are shut now and lockdown has happened. But we thought that there was some, good info in the podcast, and a few little funny bits as well, we hope. So we hope you enjoy it all. Obviously, keep cracking on with your training and everything, and give the podcast a listen, and we'll go from there. Cheers.
Episode 2 already.
After what might have been 6 months of trying to arrange a podcast, you get 2 episodes within like a week. So
by the way, that it's inflating as well. It was 6 weeks, now it's 6 months. We've got to build the drama around it. So
it's going to be 6 of something every time.
We'll definitely be 12 weeks, 12 months next time.
Yeah. Let's keep you on your toes for that. So
episode 2. So actually, I guess it took us a little bit of a while to upload the first one. So it was that last week. Was that only last week?
A couple of days ago, uploaded it. Yeah.
Okay. What's the general feedback been like then? From your
Obviously, we're a big deal now. Currently on a whole.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you thought, but because I was wearing this top, you might have thought that I was The Rock.
Yeah.
On second episode, so.
Yeah, and I've got my Powerhouse Gym sponsorship now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Big shout out to Steve Weinberger. He doesn't know it yet, but he basically does sponsor my gym sessions, given that I have a Powerhouse Gym top in every colour. So, cheers, Steve Weinberger, for that.
We used to have a joke between me and Lewis Smith and one of the other guys from the gym, because one lad we know who used to train at the gym used to put up Instagram posts like that. It'd be like, thanks Tesco's for this sponsorship of this chicken breast. It's like, no, you've just been to Tesco's and bought a chicken breast and then posted up a picture of it. So it just got like a joke every week. We're like, oh my God. But yeah, funny. So basically that's us.
That's basically us. Also not too dissimilar to people with 3.5% discount codes for being on like a referral scheme.
BPI sponsorship.
Yeah. BPI 40, I believe that's 40% off, is it not? And you can just log on and get it yourself. So how expensive these supplements are on their own, I have no idea. But I can't say I've used BPI. Feedback on the last episode was good. People generally liked the kind of laid back nature of it, which is great because you're not getting anything better than that. One comment from one of our very good friends was, "Is it going to be slicker?" The answer is no. So if you're expecting full studio podcasts, I'm afraid you might structure, yeah.
Where I won't just go off on a tangent about something.
No. You might want to visit our sister station at Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide. Friends. You'll get far more structure there, and you won't get that here. But yeah, I think we're at a total at 61 views as it stands. I think we've probably got 61 friends between us, right? So easy. it might just be that. Shout out to a few people. I think Dell might have mentioned watching it. DSL, QE, Edgy, Dan. Basically, just a list of our friends that have watched the podcast. So thanks. Anybody else?
I do say. Yeah. Oh yeah, 16 of them views were me. So
you've just been bashing
myself back. Watching myself back on the podcast.
Yeah. It's funny. Sorry. What we have, we talk about watching each other on the telly. I think that you've forgotten, actually, that I should now be introduced as Aeronn Bevan, as seen on the BBC.
Do you mean Aeronn Bevan or Aeronn Bevan?
Sorry, that's Aeronn Bevan, yeah.
Aeronn Bevan. I did hashtag you in the post yesterday.
Yeah.
As seen on the BBC. Did you not see it?
I did, actually, yeah. Cara
seen on BBC.
Cara searched the hashtag because she thought like maybe it'd have loads of other people on it. Apparently, just a Bon Jovi tribute band. as used it. So us and Bon Jovi tribute band. So if actually,
yeah.
then
it's all about the algorithms.
Yeah. But anyway, basically a big deal. We might do another episode where I address the program. I did a little Instagram post before it actually to say that don't expect this to be a bodybuilding documentary, because the BBC weren't after doing that. They wanted to kind of make it look like maybe bodybuilding was a bit weird. But I think we come out of it all right. I think that I take exception to a few things that they said and that they tried to make out. For example, anybody watching this podcast understands that I don't drink 8 litres of water a day. But maybe I might have done that one day in peak week. But
it still wasn't as far-fetched as the Jodie Marsh one, though, where she was apparently training 16 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
So
no.
more than Arnold, apparently.
No, just 14 for me.
Hours for you.
Yeah. But maybe we'll talk about that.
Have you actually ever seen a BBC or either drama documentary on bodybuilding that you've actually gone, that was really good? I mean, yours was good for a different reason, but
yeah.
I mean, actually, that's more true to life, but it's probably not glamorous enough, is it?
No, it's not, and I would say is you have to. I learned a lot by doing it. But I'll be frank, they tried to catch me out quite a lot. And when we were doing it, they were asking me leading questions, and they were asking me things. I come off stage. There was an interview I did when I come off stage that they left out, and I think they left it out probably because it was quite positive. They asked me how I was feeling and stuff like that, and I remember I said one thing that was, after all the sacrifice that we have to do to get ready for a show, I'm going to go and enjoy a meal with some friends now, which, fully enough, was you and Edgy. We went 5 guys. And they pulled me up and they said, oh, so you had to sacrifice quite a lot then? And I was like, I stopped them and I said, you're missing the point. Okay, I'm using the word sacrifice. It means not having a burger for 20 weeks. Jesus, I mean, that's... But what the
bodybuilding terminology, yeah,
right. But the point that they were missing is that I'm actually now going to eat a burger with 2 friends I've met bodybuilding, and they kind of didn't, and they obviously thought, oh, that's not depressing enough, so we're going to leave that out, So it's the way it is, and I think that, like you just said, you never see a BBC documentary or any kind of mainstream documentary that would kind of show bodybuilding or any kind of niche sport in the light that we would like it to. And then that brings you back to, when you hear people like Sean Ray and stuff talking about how they'd like bodybuilding to be more mainstream, how it used to be on ESPN and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be. It never will be.
No. Let's be honest, you're never going to be as good as the fish and the rice cake guy, are you? No. Let's not going to top that documentary.
I like to think that I did us proud in that respect, but maybe 8 litres of water is going to be the new fish and a rice cake. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 8
but
litres every day.
You have to bear with me 1 second. I'm going to close my window because it's really cold. So just entertain.
No worries. Well, I've got literally nothing to talk about other than the fact that it's actually my microwave in the background. So, cheers.
Yeah, shout out to appearance from Rob's microwave there. Thanks for that.
Sponsored by. Yeah.
Saved me
Do
on
you
a
want
very...
to tell everyone the reason why I need a new microwave?
Because I cook my rice in the microwave. Because I'm not bodybuilder enough to have a rice cooker. And the water just escapes. Yeah, the water just escapes from the rice cooker and stays inside the microwave. And eventually it shorts and the fuse goes and the whole microwave's fucked. So that's why.
How did I find that out? Because I went to move your microwave into the landing, into the hallway, and about 4 litres of water came out the bottom of the microwave.
And only half of the water that I drink per day, actually.
Is it? Just reused it. So,
but anyway, another tangent there, but yeah, it was good. People liked it, and we'll just keep doing it anyway because we probably just have these conversations if we weren't recording it. At least we can get some other people in on it as well.
The pre-recorded bits. That's it.
Yeah, we had to stop actually because we started going off on some interesting conversations, and I thought probably should just press record because.
It always upsets me actually, on Heavy Muscle Radio when they say, "Oh, you should have heard what we were talking about off air a minute ago." But don't worry, we can't tell you. I'm like, oh, I want to know the gossip.
I just want them to press record. Actually, have you noticed how Dave and Chris have actually stole our setup quite recently? because they now have split screen Skype.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
it's hard to get used to, when you've been listening to just audio for a long time.
People might say it's a coincidence that our podcast has come and they've started doing that. That's just me. But it's funny actually, because it seems like Aceto's got it. It might be the way we're doing it actually. Aceto's got it quite good and he's quite relaxed, and like he's just taking it in stride, kind of like you are. But Palumbo's a bit like this. What's going on? It's funny. Yeah, two old guys doing a podcast, isn't it? So, but shout out to Heavy Muscle Radio, the inspiration for this podcast. Yeah.
Probably
okay.
Over 10 years. 10 years inspiration. Anyway, so what are we talking about this week?
Okay, so we had some talking points. And I think we're going to put them back to another episode, because we thought that why not join in with everybody else and talk about the big elephant in the room at the moment, which is
coronavirus,
COVID-19. We don't want to. A disclaimer: we're not experts on it, and we're not even going to profess to be. But what we think we do know is bodybuilding, and what some people might be thinking, how we think people should approach it, and just address it from that, really. Give people some updates on some federations that maybe they're involved in that have put some updates out, and news updates to say which shows are going to be cancelled and which ones aren't, and just take on our take from it, really. Because I think you're hearing a lot of, everyone's hearing a lot about it. You can't escape it at the moment. But I think everybody's little niche that they're involved in their life probably isn't being addressed. And bodybuilding for bodybuilders is all encompassing, right? So you last competed in 2017, yeah?
Yep.
And this is set to be your comeback year, what, 3 years later we're talking?
Two really.
Two, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
It's so three calendar, 2 and a bit. And so it's going to affect someone like you quite dramatically. So I guess before we kind of go into any details on it, how are you feeling about it at the moment, as of today, with all the changing? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think that a lot can change in 24 hours. There's actually like a little comedy skit last week about the two guys basically saying how we go through these waves, don't we? Where we're like, it's all a bunch of rubbish, let's not worry about it. And then you get to the point where it's like, oh, we probably should have done something about it, but now we can't, so let's not bother about it. So it's kind of like, it's almost gone that full circle in the space of a week.
Yeah.
Because I think that, obviously I work in the fitness industry, promoting health clubs all around the UK. So it is going to obviously affect a lot of clubs financially. Where we're sat at the moment is that gyms don't have to shut, but the government or whoever is telling people that you shouldn't go. Now, regardless of all that, as we said, not really want to get into that, but it's then makes things very, very difficult, because you've got a few aspects to this. So for someone like me, for example, I'm currently on contest prep. Now, it went from last week to laughing walking down the aisles of Tesco's or Asda or whatever, and going, all the dry pasta's out. Good job I don't eat pasta on my diet. And then this week it's gone, right, well, there's no rice. And now there's no fucking potatoes either. And now there's no oats. It's like, right, well, okay, what actually should I be eating then, or what can I eat? And I think it's going to get to that point where there's obviously people so many panic buying that it is going to affect clients' food choices and my food choices of actually what you can eat. I've got a client over in Australia at the moment who's prepping for his very first bodybuilding show. And when he has said there's nothing to eat, it's not that I kept thinking, wow, there's got to be something. And then he sent me all the pictures through, and there literally is frozen pizza left in the aisles. So the issue with that is, it's like, well, prep goes out the window to a certain point because there's nothing you can eat. However, flip side, what am I doing? I am just continuing on. Like, it's all fine. Not that I'm burying my head in the sand, but I just think of where it's going to go prep-wise for me is that it might mean that I have to have a few off-plan meals, but I would like to be in a position in 10 weeks' time, if this has got to the blunt of it mostly being over, and someone goes, we've got a show in 6 weeks' time, I want to be able to do that show in 6 weeks' time. I don't want to get to the point where it's like, well, my gym is shut for a week and I've quit, because that's not really kind of feasible. And I think that's happened a lot this week. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there has been a lot of people, clients, and for a number of reasons why they've maybe had to stop prep. There's a few things. I'm not sure if you've heard anything or if you've kind of like, seen some, but there's two ways of looking at it. You've got the selfish bodybuilder part of you, or point of view, where it's like, fuck you, I'm just doing my show and I'll just eat my chicken and rice and I'll make do. And if I go to the gym, so be it. But then you've got people like clients I've had this week, they're having to come off prep, not because they want to come off prep, but because they live with elderly people.
Yeah.
And by them going to the gym, that puts them at risk. So it's like, okay, well, I've not got to be a selfish dickhead, because if I do go and get ill, they're not going to forgive yourself afterwards if it was you who made them ill. I know there's no real way of knowing, but if you did get ill and you give it to them, then that's a different story. So I think there's a number of angles of this. And if you'd asked me the same question 2 weeks ago, I'd have gone, fucking load of nonsense.
Yeah.
Just get on with your bodybuilding prep. If you have to take some time off training because your gym's shut, then by continuing to stay on your diet and continuing to do your cardio, you're not actually going to lose the muscle that you think you're going to lose. I mean, the absolute best example I can give of that is Dorian Yates tearing his bicep 3 weeks out from Olympia. Yeah. He didn't weight train for 3 weeks, but he then went and won Mr. Olympia. So, do you know what I mean? So I just think that people would be very rash just to jack it in on the basis of the fact that, okay, I can't go train for a few days. And a question for you, really, how long do you think you could go with not training, but doing cardio and eating your food, as in where it actually have a detrimental effect on your physique?
I don't think so. It's case by case, isn't it? And the reason why I say that is, for me, if I was just doing cardio and eating my regular meals, I would probably put weight on. Without that intense training, I think that I wouldn't. I'm totally on board with the. People ain't losing muscle. There's times when you're on.
So what about if you're on a contest prep then? So let's say you're coming down in calories. Let's say you and me at the moment. How long do you think realistically, if you was my coach, to say, okay, this is kind of how long we could kind of do this and be all right with it?
Well, I'll bring you back to. I'll answer that question with maybe not a direct answer.
With another question.
With another question, just called me MP AA Ron. No, I think it's important to point out as a point you made is that it's being ready. So if in 3 months' time, bear in mind that we're going to go through the list later of the shows that have been cancelled and which ones haven't and stuff like that. But for natural organisations, BNBF, UK, DFBA, there's been no cancellation yet because we're talking summer anyway. So you mentioned that you want to be in a position where, should a show come up and they say, okay, we're safer now, we're in a position where we can put a show on in 6 weeks. You want to be able to do that. Then, in my opinion, if you do want to do that show, and if there aren't extenuating circumstances like you mentioned with regards to one of your clients that has elderly people that they live with or close to, the answer to the question of how long could you do it is as long as you need to. So if that's for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, I don't think it really matters. If you can't train because there's no gyms, you can't leave the house.
But I mean, how much do you think? I mean, what's going to happen to your physique? Do you think? Do you think that's completely dictated on your calorie intake? And do you think you're just going to lose more volume than anything else? Do you think you'll lose a little bit of roundness?
I think you'll lose
a little bit of
fullness and roundness. Yeah. because people see it when they go flat on prep, right? That's no different. I don't believe that muscle mass. If your physique has been built on hard training, heavy, hard training, getting under heavy bars, lifting heavy bars off the floor, bench pressing, dumbbell pressing heavy things over a period of time, that muscle isn't going anywhere just because over a real fraction of time. If we're talking weeks, if we're even talking months, for someone of our age who's been training for as long as we've been training for, and as hard and heavy as we've been training for, and have maintained a certain weight for a period of time, when I get heavy in the off season now, I get to pretty much the same weight, and then I kind of stay there because that's my big weight. That's when I'm lifting and stuff like that. That's what kind of weight I am. That's not going to go anywhere by 2, 3, 4 weeks and maybe a couple of months of not doing that training. I do, and I think that's important for people to realise. You mentioned the fullness and the roundness that happens on prep. So people have a few low days, or people who do, God forbid, diet on keto like I once did. You're going to be flat, and it's not going to be very different. So
I think there's going to be a massive mental aspect to it. It's going to be more how you feel than actually what would happen to your physique itself. Like if I continue to get leaner over the next 6 weeks now, right, and I was just to do cardio, I reckon I would look pretty good at the end of it with just doing cardio and eating well. Yeah. Because I said you're not really. I mean, how much muscle or tissue you're actually really going to lose? Like I say, it's going to be more mentally because you're not used to having sore body parts and having a nice pump all the time. You know, it's like you're training through chest 3 days ago. I've still got kind of like a little bit of inflammation in the area and a little bit more roundness when I look in the mirror. But, you're effectively, kind of losing some of that kind of thing as opposed to, like it becomes like a bit of a joke at the moment, but, it's like, well, what's going to happen to your physique if you stop training altogether? But it's going to be dictated by your calories. And I think to a certain point that maybe I eat a certain way in off season because I'm training hard and because I'm doing that. If I was just literally having to go on rations, so to speak, I think that maybe my physique you're just going to get leaner. So.
I had a friend, mentioned before, said a guy in work before said to me, "What are you going to do if you have to, just stay at home? You're just going to bench press the couch." I said, obviously not going to bench press the couch because I've got a horrible bench press, but I might squat it or deadlift it, whatever. But I think what that made me think about is how important frequency of training is compared to intensity of training, and that it will not be detrimental if you are missing some sessions, so long as the sessions that you've been doing all the time are hard and sufficient enough that you've built that kind of basis.
Yeah.
And if you go in and you just do pumpy workouts and you rely on, if you're one of these people that thinks, I look great when I've come out of the gym, but then I look crap the rest of the time. If you rely on that pump and that fullness as that's your physique, then perhaps this time might be a little bit more detrimental to you. But in that instance, then perhaps you need to relook. You need to revisit.
I definitely think, more newbies would suffer. People have said, well, it's hard to say, isn't it? But I think that, I think my ongoing advice, I guess, really is the fact that if you did stay on your diet and you did your cardio and, and you continue to lose weight, I think that you'd really do yourself, a really good position to be in at the end of it all. I think that would kind of be what I'm telling clients to do. I said, providing there's no other circumstances that, happening where, you're just being selfish, going to, could get ill, therefore you're going back to your elderly grandparents or whatever, it's a different story. But if it's actually just what's going to happen to your physique, I think, as you said, it's going to be a mental aspect for sure. Of how you're going to feel. So.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned as well. There's a few people. I have seen a few people that it almost seems like jumping the gun this week, and whether there's extenuating circumstances in the background or not, we don't know. But it seems rash to me that you would make that decision so early.
I mean, how many times are people going to be injured on a prep? I mean, being injured on a prep, you kind of train around it, don't you? But there's going to be circumstances. I'm sure I've had, a few weeks in the past now, where I've maybe hurt my back on prep and I've had to take some time off. But if you're still on your diet, so you've still made progress over those couple of weeks. And I know we're talking that it could be longer. So the experiment we'll see is if that does happen and I'm not able to train, then it will be living proof of me. So
in Natural Muscle Radio episode 50, you'll have case study of Rob Waterhouse weighing 60 kilos or something. And no muscle, but shredded. And we can see, we may or may not have been wrong. All right. But I think as well, it's difficult to have. We don't have finite opinions on what this is because, like you say, it's not changing daily; it's changing hourly. If you watch the news enough, you'll find different things throughout the day that's happening. And it's affecting my work. I travel overseas a lot for work, and that's off. We're not doing that. I've supposedly been going to Boston for the last couple of months, and because of the things, delays with the business side of it, that's been delayed further, and then things like this, so that it affects all sorts of things, and we're not professing to be experts on it, but we just think, I would say to be pragmatic as a bodybuilder, and you can get into the nitty gritty of how bad you want it and all that kind of rubbish, and that don't outwork. I'm gonna bench press the couch, and I'm gonna squat the TV and stuff like that, and I'm gonna do my prep and stuff. That's not the way that I would say that we're approaching it, but rather, currently not every gym is shut. So if your gym has been shut, can you find another one? Do you live somewhere that remote that it's not possible to find another gym in the meantime? No gyms around me have been shut just yet, and I'm quite lucky that there's a lot.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, we're in a position, and obviously doing what I do job-wise, is that the more the likelihood is going to happen is that a lot of places that are like very humid and a lot of places that maybe have swimming pools and things like that are more likely closed than an independent gym, like Gym Unity, for example.
Yeah.
Just plug in Gym Unity. I did actually speak to Jamie today, who owns Gym Unity, and he's like, I'm not closing because it's people's prerogative whether they want to come to the gym or not, unless they made me close.
I thought you were going to say he was going to. I thought you were going to say I spoke to him today. Actually, he's going to sponsor the podcast. No, but that's cool.
We've already got Powerhouse and The Rock. Why would we need more?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I go a small independent gym, and the guy said to me, "We'll be the last gym to shut. So if there's another gym open, we'll be open." And if I think it won't happen until it's enforced by some kind of law. You see in France now, there's the police on the streets and stuff like that, and enforcing curfews, and we're not there yet because it's not at the level of other European countries. But I think
give it episode 3, and then we'll be there.
Well, I mean, you might be getting daily episodes as we start self-activity, live.
Yeah, just thought. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Instagram live.
Yeah, so that's what we think, without being too heavy on it and stuff like that. But we did. I'd made a list of some shows that have been cancelled and stuff. So I think this probably just applies to the States, but all NPC shows have been cancelled between March 16th and May 10th. So I'm not sure if there's any Two Bros between now and then. I'm not sure if that encompasses that. There is. Yeah. I went on the Two Bros Instagram and website, and there didn't seem to be anything. But maybe that's covered by that. So if you are someone that's getting ready for a show soon, it would be worth checking that out. PCA have postponed all shows for 3 months. What postpone means, we're not sure whether that'll be eventually cancelled or not.
Because the issue, I guess, as well, like, I mean, how are they going to fit them back? And when we say postpone, how are they going to fit them back into the schedule? Because if there's a show nearly every weekend, I mean, what, they're going to run the competition season till December?
I think postpone postponed is a less scary way to say cancelled at the moment. And that doesn't apply just to bodybuilding, that applies to lots of things. Lots of different
What do you think the logical thing would be to do? Let's say someone like Two Bros, I mean, their last qualifier of the year is something like June, July. So do you think that most of the time that in the logical sense would be then to like push those back later in the year? Or do you think that they're maybe going to like write a lot of shows off and then just go, we've got this qualifier on this date still happening, and then our British finals here? Or what do you think a logical way would be do it?
I think you have to assume that we're talking that this is going to be done by the end of the summer, and I don't think that is a definite. In fact, I think that's very unlikely at the moment. But assuming that things can get back to normal in the summer or post-summer, for smaller organisations like, when I say smaller organisations like Two Bros, I mean with less shows on the calendar, I think they can do that. I think they could maybe just flip everything like you say and have, okay, this qualifier that was going to be the first, maybe now it's the last, now it's the first, and we'll put a qualifier here and maybe move some rounds, and they can have the luxury of doing that. PCA less so, because they've got a hell of a lot more shows now. And then for someone like the NPC that seems to have about 5 shows a week in the States, I think there's no way that they are able to reschedule shows, and that they actually just have to say these shows are cancelled and then continue. And so I think it really depends on the size of the organisation. We don't know how it will affect natural organisations in the UK just yet. As it stands today, everything is still on, and fortunately, both the BNBF and the UK DFBA, because they start a little later. I think the UK DFBA's novice show, is that earlier? When is that?
I think all the competition season kicks off like May, June, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So they have the luxury right now to be working outside of the restrictions. You know, so if you ask the government, they're talking on like a 1 to 2 month sort of time frame anyway. So for the natural organisations to say that it's all right and we're not cancelling at the moment, they can do that. Whether we'll be in that same situation in a month's time, we don't really know. And whether someone like the BNBF could ostensibly rearrange shows or not, it'll be very difficult, because we talk about just rearranging shows, postponing shows, rescheduling shows. We know the work that goes in from Guy and Vicky to book these shows, get the venues.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as simple as just, can we do it on another date? You know?
Yeah, because you're obviously going to get the venues will be forced to close.
Yeah.
So that's what would be the issue. It's going to be like, okay, we're willing to do it, but then if the venue decides to close, then they would obviously then cancel the show.
Yeah.
So that's a I guess a likelihood, but I just think that it will drag on a lot longer than people think. So
yeah,
like, is anyone going to get to compete? You know, and I guess the worst case scenario is doing a whole year of dieting and not getting to compete.
Right, you can do the.
But
well, why don't you diet all year and just do the actual Arnold next? March, February? Just be shredded for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, saying that, they just cancelled the Arnold Classic Australia, haven't they?
Yeah, and South America as well has been postponed, they say. Probably cancelled as well. So that's, it's.
Do you not think with bigger shows and things like that, like, for example, me and my mate had booked to go see Europe's Strongest Man. We go pretty much every year. They've moved that show back to August, because with big events like that, there's a lot of the vendors and supplement companies who pay for booths, and they're not going to want to give that money back. So more than likely, they will rearrange the big events like that.
Yeah.
So,
if they can, that would be brilliant. But it really just depends when this will end. Really, we just don't know right now. You know, and so making those assumptions is really difficult.
Yeah.
You know.
So fuck you, coronavirus.
Yeah. Fuck. Did you know that YouTube are demonetizing any videos that mention COVID-19 or coronavirus? So our sponsorships from The Rock and Powerhouse Gym, unfortunately, won't come in for this episode, which is funny because you'd almost think that we were lying and that we didn't actually have those sponsorships. But actually, it's because we did a public service and we spent 25 minutes talking about, bodybuilding, true to our and how coronavirus will affect that. So yeah. So coronavirus sucks.
Does. So just on a bit of a side note on that then, have you ever been really ill on prep before?
Ill because I've got a virus or disease or sickness, or ill because I feel really sorry for myself. And
that's not ill.
No.
That's just low carb week.
No, I don't think I have actually. Yeah.
No. I always think used to get like really run down towards the end. But that's probably the way I used to diet, But,
that's what I mean. Like, are we counting where you? Because like there was a time last year when I felt like I was ill. Probably.
But he was actually just contest ready for a change.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Because it was like at the Northern. So what, the last qualifier, so however many weeks out from the British, and I didn't go. I've been every show and helped out backstage and all that stuff, and I just didn't go because I felt like I was sick, but I wasn't. Just
really lean.
Yeah. But I don't know if I've ever actually been affected by an actual illness. What are you?
No, I think that I've been like run down and stuff, and had to take some. There's been times where you'd be like throwing the Lemsip in and trying to find. I had the most horrendous cough in 2016. Probably was coronavirus. Before Worlds, and I remember speaking to Mrs. every night on the phone because I was working away at the time, and I'm not joking. My intercostals and serratus has never been so sharp because it literally was just being hammered every day by me coughing fits for about 30 minutes. And she was just like, I don't know how you're like kind of getting by because you sound horrendous. And I was like, because of where I was, because I was obviously contest ready and probably the leanest I think I'd ever been at that point. Like I just was just horrendous. Every time I was coughing, I was just like, oh.
Here's one. When you were like that then, because I don't recall ever being properly sick. The more I think about it, I might have had some coughs and stuff and like coronavirus symptoms. But I didn't, or rather, I was super paranoid about getting sick because I was thinking, if I'm sick, I'm going to hold water because I'm going to have inflammation and I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that, and I might have to take medication, so that might make me look puffy and stuff like that. I think that
to a certain point it can, though. Do
you think?
I mean, well, like the worst one is that I was one prep doing eating ibuprofen like it was going out of fashion because I had the worst toothache. I had wisdom teeth coming through,
right.
And when I stopped them, and it's no coincidence, I probably dropped about 8 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was like in a space of a week. It was ridiculous. I remember saying to Darren, and he kept saying to me, like, don't worry, you probably are going to be holding some water off this. And I was like, I just fucking look awful. And then literally with it. But some of that is probably stress as well because of how it was making me feel because I was that in so much pain,
Yeah.
So is it that as well?
Yeah, no, that bothered me. The thought of it bothered me a lot, like on preps that I've done. It's like, gets to like that 2-3 week mark and you think, oh, what have I got sick? Someone, you're like,
yeah, I know, yeah.
And
same again, these are all scenarios, where it's just like, it might be a week or 2 weeks, and you might not train for a few days, but as I said, it will be quite interesting to see how that unravels because it might be a prolonged period of time. I say I might be having this conversation where I'm like, look, I just couldn't do it without training, but I think I could. So that was one of them. Something else was going to ask you as well. I can't remember now. Never mind. Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. So we had a couple of talking points that we could go other than COVID. One of the things I wanted to speak about was, or that we'd mentioned that we'd like to discuss is our approaches to off season and prep. what you might be doing now, what I'm doing now, and then what we might, in the kind of the flip side of it and what we do. So I'll start by saying I'm in quite a heavy off-season phase, as you might.
Beard's hiding it nicely, so.
Yeah, there are more than one chin. There's more than one chin present under here.
So, quickly then, how far are you over your contest weight currently?
Ooh. Darren Loxton, look away now.
Close your ears and look away.
Just probably go and make a brew, go and have a protein bar, go the allotment, yeah, go feed the chickens, go and pluck some potatoes or whatever it is that you like to do. Spare time. At the moment, upon waking, I fluctuate between 89 and 90 kilos, and that's the heaviest I've ever been.
What did you compete at?
63 out of the British.
Okay.
Yeah. So 27 kilos thereabouts when I'm weight.
I was just trying to do the maths. I was just thinking diet brain. I was thinking, okay.
Yeah, we're looking at
27 kilos. Okay. What are you like at pull-ups?
Well, I've still got that. Actually, I've done that. I've done it's gone now, the bruise, but I've done it again today. I've gone and done it again today. Well, I thought that was all right because it didn't hurt anymore. So I went and did bent over rows and it went again. So the answer to how many pull-ups I can do right now is none. But how many pull-ups I could do at this body weight anyway? If I was to get a set of 2 out, 3 out, that'd be good. But
I actually did some face pulls in the gym for comedy value today, and I was actually laughing. I was just doing for you.
Thanks.
Because I was thinking about you saying last week that you didn't tell your fridge out. I was actually like,
no, I don't think I could do any now because it hurts so much. But no. So how many pull-ups based on my body weight? Not a lot. But I can deadlift 5.5 plates aside. We're squatting 4 plates at the moment, which is nice, and we're getting under heavy weights. And I'm doing that because I'm bigger and I'm heavier. And me and Darren have had conversations about how we should approach the off season and things like that. And one thing that we are in agreement of is, for me, I like to do it this way. I like to get big because, first and foremost, I a long time ago stopped being bothered about what I looked like, just generally. I love bodybuilding. I know what I need to do in the off season to grow and be bigger. So what I look like in the process of doing it doesn't really matter. I'll wear double XL t-shirts in the off season. I'll wear them in prep. It really doesn't matter what I kind of look like. So I became okay with doing that and doing what needs to be done. And I know not everybody is okay with that. But what we did agree with is that I'm under no illusion that if I was to say tomorrow we're going to start a 20-week prep for a show, that I couldn't do that at 90 kilos. So it would either we'd need to do it one of 2 ways. Either the way that I know that you approach it and you prep for a very long time. So your prep started in 2019. It was September time, around about British finals time. You'd started a diet. And then you allowed yourself to kind of like dip in and out around Christmas time and stuff like that and have a day or whatever based on what was going on. And that meant that come January time, I think you were down 2 stone, right? You were down about over 2 pounds.
Yeah, just over, yeah.
And then so in a better position to say, okay, now I'm starting a prep, or rather the way you had planned it out, your prep is going to be this long. Another way of doing it is, I know that a way that has become quite popular in bodybuilding, in natural bodybuilding now, is the famed mini cut. And I know that a couple of your, or one of your clients, Chris Edge, recently did it. Dan North, another one of Darren's clients, did it this summer. And rather than extending the prep, they took a time out to bring some body weight down and then didn't allow them to go back up to a certain weight and then started the prep. I think it's necessary. It will be necessary for me to do one of them things, and me and Darren are in agreement on that. It will probably be the latter for me. I would quite happily take some time during this summer, COVID-19 pending, to come down. And then when I start what would be like a second phase of off season to the back end of year, eat up again and get big and strong again, but not allow my weight to creep over a certain amount and approach it like that. And so that's where I am doing that.
So taking it off then, getting up to the weight that you've been getting up to, are you eating, the 90% of your meals a day, like bodybuilding food, and then are you having a meal off in the evenings, or are you just kind of like eating on top of your normal meals a lot?
Maybe a mixture of both. I guess it depends really. So there might be a typical day where I'm in work, so I'm just going through all my meals, and I'm allowing myself now to, someone brings in something nice to the office. It goes, that's fine, and don't worry about it. And then maybe I'll come home and I'll train and I'll have my last meal, and that's fine, or whatever. Or maybe Cara will come back and she'll finish work or she'll finish training, and I'll have maybe a couple of meals left, and I'll think, you know what, I'll cook a big meal and we'll eat that together, whatever, So a little bit of a mixture of both. But making sure that there's a basis of meals. Moreover, for the consistency, and I'm getting the calories in. I'm not so worried about what they are. I am weighing them, but not being quite so pedantic about the amounts and things like that, and just making sure I'm accountable to having a minimum amount of calories. Because I've spoke to a lot of people in the past, more newbie people in the gym, or people who are just trying to put weight on or whatever, and they'll say to me, how do you get so big? It's coming from me. How do you get so big? How do you get bigger? How do you grow muscle and things like that? And the first thing I ask them is, what's your diet? And this is in the off season. This isn't in prep. I'll say, what's your diet? What do you eat? And I always get the same response. It's like, well. And when I get to work, I have a big breakfast. Like I'll go and get a bacon butty or whatever, and then I'll have me dinner. Like I'll have some butties for my lunch and I'll have a bag of crisps or whatever, and then I'll go home and I'll have a big tea. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you eat? I didn't answer the question of what your diet was. Like I don't know what you've just said. And I think being accountable for having a minimum amount of food and calories in the off season is important, and then doing all the things. It's a perfect opportunity to mention my favorite bodybuilding story of all time, which I tell everybody I've ever met, even if they don't know bodybuilding, and that's PCA finals. Was it when we were at PCA finals? And PCA finals. Yeah. So I was in prep, right? Or I finished. Oh, was I? No, I wasn't in prep because it was 5 guys. So it was whatever. What year was it? Was it 2018? It must have been the year after.
Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah. And so we went to PCA finals, which was a pain in the ass, by the way, because it was long, and we were just like, when are the big guys coming on?
Bikini classes.
When are the big guys coming on? Because men physique's great and all that, but I'm sick of the flowy arms and stuff. Like I just want to see some dudes and muscle and stuff.
Some muscle.
So men's physique come on, and we said, let's go 5 guys. So we did, and we did the classic bacon double cheese, large fries, shake, because team milkshake, and we're not going anywhere without milkshake. Came back and I was stuffed, and I thought, oh, that'll do. That's seen me a few meals. That'll, quality off-season calories. And not 10-15 minutes later, turned to my side, and Rob at Waterhouse opens his steak and rice and starts eating his steak and rice. And I thought, that's the difference. That is the difference between putting a little bit of weight on and getting maybe making a change in the off season or making none, and going away after you've done your season of competing, going away, doing the training, doing everything you need, and coming back improved. And honestly, it was we joke about it, and I joke about telling everybody about it, but it was eye opening for me, because I thought that's the kind of level that you need to be at.
I've always said, I think that your main meals shouldn't really be. It's not very hard to replace meals here and there, but I think that having I know that I've got these 6 meals to eat, and if I eat on top, like it's okay.
Yeah.
But I know that then I'm at least getting those minimum in of like quality nutrition. There's nothing wrong with the Five Guys, of course, but I definitely think that I say that was and I've had the similar stories of other people doing the same thing, and having a few slices of pizza, and then the fucking Mark Claxton is making his 150-gram bowl of oats before bed, and you're like, we've just eaten, just fucking eating. What's going on? So yeah, I think that is a best bodybuilding story of all time.
It's my favourite bodybuilding story of all time. I actually have two favourite stories ever. Both of them involve Five Guys. One of them is Rob Waterhouse and the steak and rice post Five Guys. The other best Five Guys story, as you know very well, is the story of Cara and the 7 patties.
Yeah.
Which
pretty legendary.
It's pretty legendary. If you don't know, it's the time that me and Cara were going on. We were fixated on getting 4 patties every time we went Five Guys. So your standard double cheese, doubled. Don't know why. Maybe that's why you get to 90 kilos. You know. We did that. We were doing that. And unfortunately, they got Cara's order wrong, and they only give her 3 patties. So I, like the good boyfriend I am, I went back and I said, "Excuse me, there's a patty missing on this burger. Can you make us a new one?" And I proceeded to give them the burger back. To which the Five Guys employee said, "Very sorry, sir. We will make you a new burger with the 4 patties, but we can't take this one back. You have to bin it, hygiene reasons. We can't take food back." I said, "Oh, okay." So I didn't think anything of it. I go back to the table and I take my 4 patty. I give Cara a 4 patty and I go, "I've got to go and bin this one now because this is the 3 that we didn't want, and they wouldn't take it back." And she looks at me like I've got 7 heads. She looks at me like I've just walked in to someone's house on Christmas Day and like took a piss on all the presents. Like she's like, "What are you doing?"
What?
And I'm like, "What? I'm just going to bin this burger." She's like, "You're not. I'm going to eat it." And so Cara proceeded to take a 4 patty Five Guys and a 3 patty Five Guys and eat both. and
7 patty burger.
And it was forever known as the tale of Cara and the 7 patties. So there you go.
Put that into perspective. Ratty Ryan.
Yeah. Very well.
Probably not even forgive me for saying this, but he basically was giving it the big one after a show about how much food he could eat.
Right.
And then we went and had a Five Guys just with a double burger, just a 2 patty burger, a milkshake and some fries, and then nearly cried because it was too much for him. His actually eyes got glossed over. I was like, "Why are you crying?"
Cara,
it was just I was really full.
Very much like Cara's like shorter than me, probably weighs. No, she's not 60 kilos. You know what I mean? So she's like, she ain't big.
Exactly. She's half your size and you're short. So
pretty much, yeah.
Funny.
So yeah, so that's my off
bodybuilding story all the time.
That's best.
Last bodybuilding story. Just make sure you ask Tom Poynier about me and David Kay sharing a potato because it chuckles him every time. So probably go on to Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide and listen to that one.
Okay. Yeah.
So
plug for our sister station. You might hear that story. Quality. All right then. So that's my off season with some cool stories. You're in prep. So what does that look like? For DFAC.
How are we doing for time? We're
running 53 minutes, 54 minutes, so we're all right.
That's all right. Sweet. Excellent. Prep then. Wow. Okay. A little bit, I don't want to say topsy-turvy because it's not been. But going back to what we said before about bringing myself in line for prep. So I did want to do some earlier shows this year. Nothing really put plans or pen to paper with regards to which actual shows. But basically, my mate is getting married this year, and obviously still being true bro and true hero, obviously wanted to go on the stag do and have a few whiskeys and do that. So my options were, I can't really do that right back in the middle of basically starting prep. So if I'm in a lot better position going into it, then I can kind of pick and choose my shows with, you know, a few days off in Valencia or whatever, which probably isn't going to happen now anyway. But basically, that was the idea originally of why I was going to do it. So I basically decided, I think around British finals time, to start my diet, because I was up to 16.6, 16.5 stone.
Yeah.
So we're talking 103, 104 kilos or so.
Right.
Or more. Bearing in mind I compete at like 73, so I was like, right, well, if I bring things down, I'll do that. So successfully, I think, really up until we did have a work party in Las Vegas this last year. Our work always takes us away to, you know, nice destinations at the end of the year. So it was a free holiday. So I thought, well, I'll diet down. So I basically had dropped from about 16.6 to about 14.5.
Just bear in mind, when you were 16.6, you were in the greatest BNBF judging top of all time.
I was, yeah. I don't know who used to own it, but it was like a vintage one, and yeah, it definitely would have fit Ronnie Coleman.
That's quite.
But people were like, they weren't like, "Wow, you look massive." Like, "Wow, that top is massive." So, so yeah, that was a good one. But like, I felt heaps better for like starting with prep and kind of getting things underway. But as a result, what happened is that we got through to Vegas for so say about 14.5. But I think that I had gone quite aggressive with the calories on prep. So I'd taken things down quite fast, not done heaps of cardio or anything, just basically kind of increased my step count and basically stopped eating any rubbish, and the weight came off pretty quickly. So I think the first 10 to 12 pounds probably came off in the first 2 weeks. And then obviously it slowed down, but then it was like £1, £2 every week. So what happened was, as a result, once I then been away on holiday. Now, bearing in mind, being non-bodybuilder, when I go away for these work dues, we was probably, if I was lucky, eating twice a day when we were over in Vegas. So we're talking 4 days. And when I got back, I was like, wow, that's kind of taking its toll, because I went to Vegas and then we went to San Francisco and then we went to New York. So about 3 weeks of traveling, of kind of maybe like when we were in New York and places like that, that we were eating more, but we were eating out 3 times a day. So, you know, it was a case of like, I was eating clean because I was like, you know, I've been on prep, and I thought I'll just make good like choices of food. So I was eating a lot of things like steak and eggs, no songs, because the steak and egg songs is famous. Not sure if you know it.
No, how about that?
I'll put the link in the bio. Family Guy joke. Anyway, so yeah, some steak and eggs, some things like, you know, just like rice and steak and things like that. So not really a lot of stuff like which you consider kind of unhealthy, just nothing measured, nothing weighed. But the problem is only eating 3 times a day and eating healthy. The massive thing that I found was when I got back, and it just shows body composition wise, like I was just smaller. I was smaller, but not really any leaner. And I just looked at my sort of self and thought, I can't continue to prep on this way.
Right.
So I bumped all my calories back up to the sort of 550 grams of carbs a day, around 200 grams of protein a day, and sort of 50 fats a day. And like the difference in the space of about 10 days was like night and day. Like I was like, wow, that's such a big difference. So then I decided, well, going into this part now, we're talking, this is like early December. So we're talking like first week in December. So obviously I kind of dieted through from that. Was definitely leaner, but then my weight had come up a little bit whilst being away, but it was up, but then only eating 3 meals a day. So it's kind of like, like the worst combination you kind of have.
Yeah.
So then up in that food then into Christmas, and then I probably took a few days off over Christmas of kind of still eating my normal meals again, still eating 6 meals or so a day, basically eating some stuff on top. And then officially started my prep, I believe, I went to Dubai as well, so we went away again. And that was another week. I think we went for 2 weeks or a week, maybe 10 days. And I did actually eat pretty well out there, and I got to train a few times as well. But same again, just probably not enough. So then I officially started my prep when I then got back, because I thought I can't really do that to Claire, who's my missus, where I'm basically dieting all year in 2019, then dieting all year. So it was kind of like, let's go away on these holidays because I'm not going to get to do these next year anyway. And that's where I am now. So I'm kind of sat back towards, well, I'm just about to pop into the 13 stone club. So we're talking 14 stone bang on or so, probably by the end of this week. But in a much better body composition from what I was kind of when I went to Vegas. So, so that's where I'm kind of sat currently, as far as body weight wise and that kind of stuff. So bearing in mind, so contest weight is about 11.7. And I'm sat about 14 now. So
I think that's kind of, it's apparent. So when we train together now, it's apparent in your physique. You know, we both train in quite baggy clothes anyway, but you can see your improved taper and things like that now. You're absolutely blasting me on high rep things. High rep for me right now, by the way.
Do you mean
it? 4.
I was just about to make the same joke, but you beat me to it. So yeah, anything over 4.
Yeah.
And definitely not on like a drop set of 4, 4, and 4. If you get to 12 reps, you're doing well, aren't you? So
yeah, I'm done. Yeah. But your performance in them now is far better than it was not that long ago. You know, I know.
And my weight training belt fits me again.
Nice.
So you spend £300 on a Cardillo weights belt, and you get to wear it for 2 months of the year because you're too fat for it in an off season.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that I'm going to get to the point where it's going to be too big for me in the end of prep. So cheers 38-inch waist to 28-inch waist. So.
You can wear it for like 32, 34, is it? And then
I wear it all the way down. I think I'm about 3 holes from the end already, and I'm still way fatter than I'm going to be. So
you have to ask Claire what she asked me when a recent time I was in Unity. She asked me where I got my belt from, and she alluded to it looking like it was a designer bodybuilding belt because it's a nice brown leather chic. So
designer bodybuilding belt.
Yeah.
What was that?
She was like, I don't know. She was like, oh, did you get that from such a place? Because obviously I have no idea. I think she was taking the piss a little bit. But you can maybe ask her, and we can tell people next time. But yeah, so that's for anyone that cares. That's what I'm doing. I'm really big and fat, and that's what you're doing. And you're in prep for maybe doing a show for nothing, maybe, just for like.
Yeah, well, what's it going to be? A photo shoot? Can you imagine dieting for fucking like 38 weeks or something to do a photo shoot?
No.
I'll probably not forgive myself. What am I going to do? What are my options? What am I going to actually do? Like, I mean, there must be, whether it means traveling and going somewhere. I mean, if the whole world's on lockdown, then fuck. It'd be, it's going to be grim, isn't it? It'd just be grim. You'd be like, what have I done? What have I done for a whole year? I've literally dieted to do nothing, to stand and look at myself in my bedroom mirror. So. Yeah,
well, I mean, I've took Crew Alexandria from League 2 to League 1 on FIFA. Intend on winning the Champions League. Things like that we can look back on at the end of the year.
Brilliant. And I can't wait to upgrade my horse on Red Dead Redemption. It's brilliant.
It was the
Spent
best.
fucking 4 hours playing that game the other day and literally did nothing. I was like, how have I spent 4 hours playing this?
I might download Skyrim again, and try and finish Skyrim because that requires commitment and not leaving the house.
Does it?
Yeah, it's Red Dead. It's Red Dead, but with swords and wizards rather than guns and cowboys. So
funny. Yeah. Jokes is going to be. I'll definitely be able to keep busy. I think apparently Netflix crashed yesterday because everyone sat home watching Netflix. Mental.
I know.
What are we going to do?
You need to start illegally streaming things, don't you? Otherwise,
Yeah.
You're going to be screwed.
So one nice little thing where I'm staying at the moment. Basically, our boss has got a mansion I'm not joking. It's
I can see. Yeah.
it's that big a house that actually when I went to work the other day, I left my phone in the house, and when I got outside, I went, I am not walking up 5 flights of stairs to go and get my phone.
Sorry,
because my legs were sore.
Sorry, is that you saying you left your phone somewhere?
I left my phone in the house.
That's funny.
When I got outside.
That's funny. You leaving your phone anywhere really, because anyone that anyone
You're not
that's,
alluding to the fact that I tend to lose stuff all the time, are you?
I might be.
Okay.
Sorry for another tangent, but actually you were almost late for judging a show in 2018 because you thought you had your phone stolen in Dedicated Fitness, if you remember rightly.
Yep, and I also locked my keys in the boot of my Scirocco outside Strength Asylum for a show as well.
Well done, yeah. So
anyways, so I got outside the house, sat in the car, and I had bad legs. I'd smashed my legs at the weekend, and I actually refused to go back into the house to climb all the way back up the stairs to go and get my phone. I actually went to work without it. That's how big this fucking house is. But anyway, part of this story is that they've got an absolute quality setup in his gym downstairs.
Quality?
So it's like a double garage full of cardio equipment, a squat rack, an incline press, an actual station for doing curls, if you believe that or not, and dumbbells up to about 40 kilos.
How are we an hour?
Coronavirus.
Yeah, how are we an hour into this? How are we an hour into this? And you are now telling us, after we pulled on everyone's heartstrings about how people aren't going to be able to train, and we're an hour in, and now you're saying, but basically,
mate, don't worry about it.
Fine, because it's on its own gym and it's fine.
And it's got about 140 kilos in plates as well. So if I had to, I could just stay here and train for a show. That will never happen. So
on that note.
So yeah, but then the thing is, it's like, am I then going to want to like stay here and not be at my own home? I'd have to travel an hour and 20 minutes to come here every day. So if there are police and army on the streets keeping me from going out, then I'm not going there anyway. So well, I expect that. We haven't really touched on the training side on prep and off season. I mean, you've probably done a little bit. We've probably talked more on nutrition this time around. So let's hit that next time then. What you're actually doing and what I'm doing. Other than that, we've just rambled for an hour, but this is probably going to be what it's like every week.
This is what you're going to get. So if our 61 viewers and 19 subscribers don't like that, then you can go and find another podcast called Natty Muscle Radio, maybe.
Ours will be better. Anyway,
well funnier.
Ours will be more natural, more classic.
More
classic. Yeah. More classic. Very good. So, saying that, so next week is if it's going ahead, the free BNBF Northern Natty Posing Club. If anyone wants to come, hosted by yours truly. I believe Coach DSL is coming up to help as well.
Yeah.
Providing that everywhere's not on lockdown, the gym's open. So otherwise, we'll be coming up.
So is that the 9th? Is it? Something like
29th, I think it is. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And Monday's my birthday, just to let everyone know. So.
Quality. Nice one. Thanks for that. Cheers.
No worries. So
and
if you want to send anything.
And we're recording this on Ireland's birthday as well, aren't we? The country of Ireland, St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
So shout out to James Melville, I think, because Ireland, and Claire as well. Your national day.
Because Ireland, national day. Pubs are closed though, so.
Oh, shit, innit? It's messing with everything.
Actually, so sit. Stay out and get drunk.
Let's call it a night, eh?
Wrap it up. Sounds good.
Natty Muscle Radio, episode 2.
See you later.
Done. See you later.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.